The 6 picks contest is open for game week 12. It's hard to believe we're at game week 12 already. This season is flying. We have an international break post this game week. 2 weeks of FPL anguish and withdrawal symptoms for the majority of us. We're going to kick on with the game week 12 6 picks contest. You have until the Friday deadline to get your entries in the comment section here on YouTube. You can enter via Twitter or on Facebook. For a full list breakdown of the rules and categories, check out the video linked in the description here. It's about 3 minutes long and it lets you know how to play and enter, and also the prizes that are on offer. I'm going to go straight into game week 11 results. So on this occasion, we had a Twitter entry in the form of @FPL Mr. and Mrs. Their picks that week were Sterling, Mopé, Lundstrom, Abraham, Aubameyang and Mane. So 68 points scored for FPL Mr. and Mrs. Big letdown from the Man City assets, as we all know. De Bruyne, Sterling, the likes of really didn't contribute anything for us in terms of points, but the hero of last week was Lord Lundstrom. John Lundstrom, 2 goals. The defender got 2 goals, a clean sheet, maximum bonus points, 21 FPL points for all of those. A lot of us picked him in the budget defense. Give ourselves a pat in the back. Budget offence was Abraham, and then Aubameyang got 8 points. Mane captaincy was a stroke of genius. 24 points scored for a grand total of 68 points for FPL Mr. and Mrs. Well done to you. You win $10 of Bitcoin, and also you get that 30-day subscription to FUMNIAnalytics.com and their full suite of tools and FPL decision making tools, etc. It's great. Check it out. There's a link in the description for Fumni too. I'm going to do something a little bit different this week with my picks, so I'm concentrating only on one category. I will in the end reveal my 6 picks across the 6 categories, but for the purpose of this video, I'm breaking down the captaincy because it's been very difficult the last few game weeks picking a captaincy. Looking back at my track record, I have numerous captaincy fails, and I feel like I might just, I felt like it this morning. I was thinking to myself, I need to invest a little bit more time to get the captaincy right going forward. So I took a few hours out and I put together a couple of slides, I suppose you could say it. It's like a little presentation of all the information that I can gather. I used the Fumni Analytics site, and I also used Fantasy Football Scout and FantasyFootballFix.com to accumulate some data. So data points in terms of stats, form, fixture, points scored, fixture analysis in terms of the history against certain opposition. So what I've done is I've chosen 6 players who I feel are going to be popular captaincy candidates for game week 12. That's Sadio Mane, Jamie Vardy, Abraham, Pukki, Raheem Sterling and Jimenez. Now most of them have quite high ownership, maybe the exception with Jimenez. He is kind of a little bit under-owned at the moment, sliding under the radar, but he does have a lot of things going for him in terms of captaincy this week. So let's start with the fixtures. Breaking them down, the only player that doesn't have a home fixture out of this 6 is Sterling with the away Liverpool fixture. Everyone else has a home game. The second row down, what I've done is I've looked back with help from Fumni at the previous 3 seasons and the history against this opposition. So Sadio Mane has averaged 2.3 points against Man City in the last 3 seasons. 5.8 for Vardy, which is really high. I think he's got 8 goals in 8 appearances against Arsenal for Leicester. Really impressive stuff. He takes the biscuit there. 4 points for Abraham against Palace. Now that history scopes his Swansea days, but he still averaged 4 points per game, which is quite good. Decent record. Watford at home, there's no data there for Pukki, and also similarly for Jimenez, there's nothing to do. There's nothing we can pull upon from the last 3 seasons in the Premier League because they never played each other. And then for Liverpool away, not reading too well for Sterling. 2.6 points averaged over the last 3 seasons away at Liverpool. So then at the bottom row, you'll see the FDR, the official fixture difficulty rating, which is supplied by the PremierLeague.com. They have a certain algorithm that they calculate it by. Anything that's dark in colour is difficult, lighter in colour is easier in terms of fixture. It's rated 1 to 5. So you can see clearly that Pukki and Jimenez have the easier fixture this week. It's rated 2. Quickly followed then by Palace at home for Chelsea, which is rated 3. The difficult fixture is that Man City-Liverpool game. So Mane gets a 4. He's at home to Man City, but it's still rated slightly more difficult for Liverpool. And then obviously Sterling then has a 5. Two difficult fixtures there as well, because Arsenal at home for Leicester isn't easy. So that's 3 players that have a high FDR overall. So let's just kind of look and see who takes the prize then in terms of the fixtures. It's going to go for the points against the opposition in the last 3 seasons. It's going to go to Vardy quite clearly. 5.8 points average against Arsenal, which is quite a good record. And then in terms of the FDR, the award goes to Pukki and Jimenez. So I'm going to go to the next topic. I'm keeping account of all these little trophies I'm giving out. We're looking next at form, so points per game. Even to put it better, points per 90 minutes played, so every 90 minutes. Overall, you can see that there's a lot of them in an even keel. So Mane has 7.78. Abraham is the top at 7.97. Not much in between Mane, Vardy, Abraham, to be honest. They're both above 7 points scored on average per 90 minutes. Pukki lags a little behind with Jimenez, 5.44 Pukki, Jimenez at 4.95, and then Sterling's in there at 6.63. The next row down, we're looking at more recent data, so we're looking at the last 3 game weeks, and it's quite clear to see who comes out on top. Vardy, after that 9-0 Southampton win, 11.3 points per 90 minutes scored, FPL points that is, obviously. And then last 3 game weeks, you're looking at 7 points. Coming in second was Tammy Abraham. He's put in some impressive displays during that time period. Really falling behind the rest is Pukki, which is in line with Norwich's terrible form at the moment. 1.7 points, a real dismal points per 90 minute average in the last 3 game weeks. And then Sterling and Jimenez really steady at 6 points. Obviously Mane is 6.3. He got a nice little haul last week. So who takes the prizes in terms of the form per 90 minutes? It's going to Abraham overall at 7.97, just slightly above Mane. And then last 3 game weeks, the award has to be handed to Jamie Vardy, because he has really produced when it's mattered. Okay, so moving to the next one, I looked at the stats, mostly goal threat and attacking contribution stats for the last 3 game weeks again, so keeping within the recent data range. Game weeks 9 to 11. In terms of goal attempts, Raul Jimenez comes out on top with 11 goal attempts in total. Joint second then, you've got Vardy, Abraham and Sterling with 9 goal attempts each. Mane just with 8 goal attempts, which is still really impressive. Also, he's a midfielder too. And 6 goal attempts for Pukki. So still Pukki falling behind the rest there. In terms of big chances, Tammy Abraham comes out on top with 4 in the last 3 game weeks. And then tied second with big chances between Vardy, Mane and Sterling. Jimenez and Pukki do fall behind here in this category. Only 1 big chance in the last 3 game weeks. So the XGI at the bottom, a lot of you guys might not have heard of this before. It's expected goal involvement. So this is expected goals or assists within 90 minutes. And in the last 3 game weeks, Raheem Sterling comes out on top. 3.15 expected goal involvement. In behind him then, in and around the same, you've got Raul Jimenez at 2.25 and then Jamie Vardy at 2.3. Very slightly behind is Mane at 2.08, but struggling behind the rest of the pack is Teemu Pukki, 0.89 expected goal involvement per 90 minutes in the last 3 game weeks. So who takes the trophy in terms of these stats? Well, you got to hand the goal attempts to Raul Jimenez. He has 11, so he is impressed in that department. But in terms of big chances, Tammy Abraham takes it there. Expected GI, it goes to Raheem Sterling at 3.15. So I'm keeping track of all this. Now looking at the projected points. So I've analyzed and compared 3 popular FPL sites: Fumni Analytics, Fantasy Football Scout, and Fantasy Football Fix. A caveat here: this is a snapshot of their projected points on November 6th. This is when I'm recording this video. So these projected points do change from time to time. A lot of these sites don't confirm them until at least 24 hours before deadline. So at the moment, Fumni have Jamie Vardy in, expecting 6.9 FPL points this week. So he is far and beyond their prime man for captaincy in terms of game week 12. Lagging behind them is Raul Jimenez is in there in second, a clear second with 5 FPL points, which is quite interesting. And then you've got Sterling, Pukki, and Mane coming in with 4.1. On to Scout then. Scout handed to Tammy Abraham just over Timu Pukki. So that's an interesting one. Pukki really is favoured by Scout to come back into form this week. And then you've got Mane coming in, and behind them you've got Jimenez, Vardy, and Sterling. Surprised Vardy's lower than, he's lower than Timu Pukki for sure. I found that just very surprising for Scout. And then Fantasy Football Fix also have Tammy Abraham in for 6 points, with Vardy slightly just behind him on 5.7 projected points. Where does that leave us in terms of handing out the trophies there? Well, Jamie Vardy ticks the box for Fumni, so he takes one. And then it's Tammy Abraham, favoured mostly by Fantasy Football Scout and Fantasy Football Fix, with 6 projected FPL points. Right, so let's go on to a conclusion and let's figure out this captaincy. I want to get it right this week. I really do, folks. It's been painful for a lot of us. I'm not the only one. So in terms of the eye test, I watched all these players in action. This is more a subjective type of scenario. It's, if you've seen them, you have. If you haven't, whatever, it's fine. But I can firmly say that 5 out of 6 have passed the eye test for me. Timu Pukki, I have only seen highlights of him recently, but in terms of the chances that have fell to him, well, he hasn't put them away, and I just don't feel like Norwich are producing enough going forward. So he has failed the eye test for me in recent weeks. Looking at European involvement midweek now, this is Wednesday, so I think Raul Jimenez still has to play for Wolves on Thursday, but everyone else has played or not appeared. So a rest for Sadio Mane definitely gives him a little edge over everybody else. Obviously, Vardy and Pukki don't have any European involvement, so there's no chance of them getting rotated or rested before the international break. For sure, they're going to start. Sterling played the full 90 for Man City tonight in the Champions League. Slight worry. And then Tammy Abraham also played 90 minutes for Chelsea on the Tuesday night. But there is no real evidence. It might be a little bit of a myth. There's not many stats that correlate towards players if they feature midweek in the Champions League, their performance is kind of lowering or being more poor at the weekends following that. It never really happens. It's just one of those things that's in our heads. It's more, I'm thinking of players getting rotated or rested after a Champions League performance, maybe a tough Champions League performance midweek, or a long travelling distance to get back to their home clubs. But in saying that, it is very subjective and everyone's opinion will vary. I am totting up all the little ticks and trophies I gave out, and who comes out on top this week is going to be my captain, and that person is Tammy Abraham. He comes out in front of everybody else in all the categories, very, very narrowly to second Jamie Vardy. So there's my captain and vice captain set up. Thankfully, I own both of those players in my team right now, so it's an easy decision for me now to make going forward. I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to try and stick to my guns unless there's some sort of injury news on a Friday, or sorry, on today, which is a Thursday. I'm not going to change my mind. Third is Raul Jimenez. Sterling comes fourth, Mane fifth, and then Pukki comes sixth. Now, if you want a differential captain, Raul Jimenez is your prime candidate. He's only owned by 12% of teams at the moment, so not a lot are going to be able to captain him because they don't own him, and he could really parry up the ranks if he bangs this weekend. Vardy is also a slight differential because he's only 28% owned at the time of recording here, and Abraham is 48% owned. So nearly half of all FPL teams have Tammy Abraham in their squads. He is projected by me to score the most points because so he's going to be my captain. It's as simple as that. I'm moving on to my picks. There are other captaincy options obviously out there, but I narrowed it down to the 6 that are most kind of been talked about on social media and also that appear in most of the polls, most of the captaincy polls on the popular websites. So my picks. Game week 12 picks. Vardy going to slip into the premium category for me, and then captaincy obviously is Tammy Abraham. To fill in the rest, then the differential pick, 6.5% ownership still for Anthony Martial. Home game against Brighton. I'm keeping the faith with him and hoping he produces the goods this week. He blanked last week, but he is paying up front out of position for this United team. Budget defense, Paulo Gazzaniga continues to impress. He cemented his place in goals for Spurs. He's 4.5 million. Budget offense then, my third place captaincy choice, a great differential this week, Raul Jimenez. He is in there, owned by 12%, 7.2 million. He's in there at budget defense. He's at home to Aston Villa, who leak goals. And then gut feeling pick. I'm taking a chance here. Not much to go on. 6.3 million, Ashley Barnes for Burnley. My logic here, it is a gut feeling pick. You can choose anyone. Just think outside the box a little bit with this one. But I'm going with Ashley Barnes because I feel like he showed a lot of form early in the season. And Burnley cannot be that bad forever. I feel like we're waiting for like a recoil. There's going to be a little bit of a bounce back for them this week. So I'm going to punt with them at 4% ownership. That ownership's gone way down, by the way. He was about 15% owned at one stage into game week 4. So a real differential gut feeling pick right there with Ashley Barnes. That's me for this week. Remember, again, Friday deadline. So make sure your captaincies are set early and you've got your bench in order. Good luck this game week. Enjoy the international break, and I'll catch us all in game week 13. Take care.